Greetings, dear listeners, and welcome to a tale that will chill your bones and make the very air around you seem to whisper with the echoes of the unknown. I am your narrator, and today I will take you through a labyrinth of darkness and mystery, where every shadow could be a specter, and every silence could be a scream waiting to be unleashed. So, settle in, make sure the lights are dimmed, and prepare to be part of a story that will haunt your dreams. It was a day like any other in the serene outskirts of the city, where the Eastern Blossom Gardens lay, a place favored by retired dignitaries and the upper echelons of the police force. The sun's gentle rays caressed the earth, painting everything in a warm glow. In the newest building of the complex, apartment 708 sat at the very top, isolated from the rest, belonging to the venerable Chief Inspector Harold. The building was a recent addition, and Harold enjoyed the solitude the upper floors offered. At precisely 4:30 p.m., as the clock tower chimed in the distance, the diligent cleaner, Lily, approached Harold's door. Her ears still rang from the loud noise that had startled her earlier. She pressed the doorbell, but unlike usual, the door remained closed. Perhaps the chief has overslept, she thought, retrieving the spare key provided by the property management. With a turn of the key, she entered the silent abode. Darkness enveloped the room. The thick curtains were drawn, and not a single light was on. As Lily's eyes adjusted to the gloom, a sense of unease crept over her. It felt as if phantoms were floating around her, just out of sight. She blinked, and for a moment, thought she saw a figure standing silently beside her. "Who's there?" she cried out, only to realize it was her reflection in a mirror. Relieved, she noticed a faint light seeping from under the study's door. Pushing it open, she found Chief Harold, dressed in his uniform, sitting motionless in his rocking chair, his back to her. "Chief, why are all the lights off?" she asked, reaching for her cleaning supplies. No answer came. A dreadful feeling washed over her as she approached the chief. His head was tilted back, his face pale in the dim light, his mouth agape around the barrel of his service pistol. Blood splattered everywhere. His lifeless eyes stared into nothingness. He was gone. A scream shattered the quiet evening as Lily's terror found its voice. The call came in, and Detective Arthur, along with his assistant, Emily, rushed to the scene, skipping dinner in their haste. The site was already swarming with armed officers and police cars. The wail of sirens filled the air as they entered the building. Soon after, Deputy Chief Martin arrived, cutting short his vacation to join the investigation. The scene was well preserved. A printed suicide note lay on the desk, speaking of loneliness and despair following the death of Harold's spouse and the distance from his children abroad. The note concluded with Harold's impending retirement and his inability to face a life away from the police force he so dearly loved. Every detail of the room was scrutinized. The only light on when Lily entered was the desk lamp, shining on the lifeless body. The murder weapon was confirmed to be Harold's own gun, with one bullet missing, and only his fingerprints present. Arthur reviewed the phone messages, calls from Harold's children abroad, except for the last one from a Dr. Chen, apologizing for a delayed appointment due to an emergency patient. "Who is Dr. Chen?" Emily inquired curiously. "It's me," said a man in shorts and glasses, entering the room. Arthur glanced at his watch. It was exactly 6 p.m. Dr. Chen handed his card to Deputy Chief Martin and asked, "What happened here?" Martin gestured towards Harold's body, and Dr. Chen's face registered shock. After examining the body, he said, "The bullet entered through the upper jaw and exited the back of the skull." "I'm a doctor. Do you need me to issue a death certificate?" Deputy Chief Martin looked at Harold one last time and asked Arthur and Dr. Chen, "Are we certain this is a suicide?" Dr. Chen confidently replied, "Yes." Arthur, ever cautious, shared his thoughts. Considering the locked room scenario, the position of the body, and the weapon, it does seem like suicide, but that's enough. interrupted Deputy Chief Martin. "We've determined the cause of death." The cleaner recalled a loud bang when she was ascending the stairs, which was later confirmed by nearby residents. The sound was consistent with a gunshot. No one was encountered on her way up, and the police had secured the area immediately after, finding no suspicious individuals. This is a clear case of suicide. Dr. Chen, as the first medical witness, issued a death certificate, promising to deliver the stamped version to the station the next day. Deputy Chief Martin nodded, signaling the case closed, and ordered the body to be removed. "Wait," Arthur stood up abruptly. "We can't close this case yet. With my years of experience, there are too many unanswered questions." Deputy Chief Martin stared at Arthur for a long moment before responding with a heavy tone. "Detective, how do you propose we explain this to the press outside? That a murderer slipped past our best detectives, killed the chief inspector, staged the scene, and vanished without a trace? Or perhaps you'd suggest a ghost committed this locked room murder. You're being naive." With that, he left, leaving Arthur and Emily standing in stunned silence. That night, Arthur remained at the scene, contemplating the rocking chair where Harold had sat. He knew Harold well, a man of integrity who had once brought down a notorious criminal organization, uncovering corruption within their own ranks. Harold was a hero to the people, unyielding, indifferent to fame. Many despised him, but none could topple him on the side of justice. Moreover, Harold was known for his optimism and had many interests and friends. It was easier for Arthur to believe in ghosts than in Harold's suicide. He decided to conduct a reenactment of the scene. Emily arranged the room as it had been at the time of the incident, and Arthur began his analysis. The room was eerie, the nylon curtains blocking out all light. As he simulated the events, Arthur realized the purpose of the curtains: to eliminate any witnesses. How could the killer have vanished from a building with only one staircase? The security and police had sealed off the area immediately after the gunshot. Could the killer fly? Arthur decided to consult the property manager. Emily opened the door to the manager's office, where Mr. Ding was watching a soccer match. Surprised by their late visit, he nonetheless welcomed the detectives. "Mr. Ding, could you tell us about the building's construction?" "Well, this building isn't entirely new. It originally had 4 floors, 2 above ground for parking and 2 below for storage. The developer saw the compact and sturdy design and decided to add 5 more residential floors, creating 2 separate units with their own staircases. Additionally, solar panels were installed on the rooftop." "What about the basement?" Arthur asked, lighting a cigarette. "It's been abandoned. The underground was dug out extensively for civil defense purposes, but I've never ventured deep into it." Arthur pondered for a moment before saying, "Let's take a look at the basement." Mr. Ding hesitated, muttering about rumors of hauntings. "Nonsense!" Arthur's voice was firm, his gaze piercing. Unable to argue with the detective, Mr. Ding reluctantly retrieved the keys and led them downstairs. The basement was pitch black, like the gaping maw of a demon, silently awaiting its nocturnal visitors. As they opened the door, something flew at them. "Ghosts!" Mr. Ding cried, fleeing in terror. Arthur steadied himself, realizing it was just a swarm of bats. How odd for such creatures to be in a sealed basement. Without further thought, Arthur instructed a shaken Emily to wait outside while he ventured alone into the gloomy depths. The flashlight's weak beam disappeared into the darkness. The labyrinthine corridors twisted and turned, and after about 10 minutes, Arthur spotted a wooden door. Gently pushing it open, he found a gray staircase leading down into the abyss. He hesitated upon hearing an unusual moaning sound from below, like the wails of a tormented spirit. Deciding to proceed, he soon found himself ankle-deep in water. The flashlight grew dimmer, unable to penetrate the endless darkness. The deeper he went, the darker it became, with only the sound of mournful winds accompanying him. Alone in the depths of the night, even the brave Arthur felt a chill. Suddenly, the flashlight died, and darkness rushed in from all sides. Straining his eyes, he looked into the void. A gust of wind sounded, and Arthur was struck hard on the head. His world went black as he collapsed to the ground. The next day dawned bright and sunny. Dr. Chen, holding the completed death certificate, pushed open the doors of the police station. The procedures were quickly finalized, and as he was about to leave, he felt the need to see Arthur. He knocked on the detective's office door. Detective Arthur has gone to the neighboring province for a case, a young officer informed him. "Oh, another case?" Dr. Chen asked with a smile. "It's the same one from yesterday. Seems they've found new evidence," the young officer replied. "Wasn't it already concluded?" Dr. Chen waved the newspaper in his hand. The phone call mentioned a personal diary belonging to the chief, filled with many secrets, but only a friend in the neighboring province knows where it's hidden. They've gone to retrieve it and should be back by tomorrow. "Is there something you needed?" the young officer asked, his demeanor friendly. "No, it seems I won't be able to meet him today," Dr. Chen chuckled, exiting the police station. As the day sped by, dusk fell and the once bustling eastern blossom gardens quieted into slumber. In the dead of night, the door to apartment 708 creaked open, and a curse-laden wind howled out. A shadowy figure appeared at the threshold, hesitating in the face of the darkness that seemed to forebode doom. Taking a deep breath, the figure stepped inside. Behind him, the door closed with an eerie silence. A fluorescent light flickered on, casting a ghastly glow throughout the room. The figure, not daring to turn on the main lights, observed the surroundings bathed in the eerie blue light. A chill ran down his spine, but he pushed the fear aside, setting down a canister he carried and moving towards the study with a flashlight in hand. After some time, it became clear he hadn't found what he was looking for. Cursing under his breath, he donned gloves, tore an electrical wire, and returned to the doorway to open the canister. He began to spread the liquid from the canister around the room. Suddenly, a rhythmic creaking pierced the silence, a sound unmistakably from the rocking chair. The figure froze. Wasn't that the very chair the chief had died in? And then it dawned on him. There was no one else in the study. Panic set in as he glanced over his shoulder, catching a glimpse of a bloodied figure seated in the chair. The figure's heart nearly stopped. Chief Harold? But something was amiss. He looked up sharply, and to his horror, standing before him was the imposing figure of Detective Arthur. "Dr. Chen, what you're looking for is right here," Arthur said, holding up a false tooth. Dr. Chen's eyes flickered with cunning as he pulled out a lighter, sneering, "Since you found out, let's go down together." With that, he tossed the lighter into the liquid. The flame sputtered and died instantly. "Dr. Chen, you've got the wrong canister," Emily emerged at the study door, holding a can filled with gasoline and a gun in her hand. Dr. Chen collapsed in despair, confessing his crimes. It turned out he was the son of the leader of the criminal organization that Chief Harold had dismantled. After his parents were executed, leaving him an orphan, hatred festered in his heart. As a dentist, he seized the opportunity during a police health check to become Harold's personal physician. On the day of the murder, after pulling a tooth, he used sterile gloves to place the gun in the Harold's mouth and pulled the trigger. "Detective Arthur, I've confessed everything, but I don't understand. How did you know I was the murderer? And how did you know I would come here tonight?" Dr. Chen asked, defeated. "It's all thanks to this tooth," Arthur replied calmly. "On the day of the incident, I found this tooth under the rocking chair, which made me doubt the suicide theory. Forensic analysis confirmed it was Harold's molar, extracted shortly before his death. Who would pull out their own tooth before committing suicide? Only someone else treating him could have done it. That's when I realized it wasn't suicide. It was murder. And you, Dr. Chen, in your haste to flee the scene due to the unexpected arrival of the cleaner, didn't have time to clean up. You didn't descend the stairs. Instead, you went to the rooftop and down to the second-floor basement, escaping through the underground tunnels to a corner of the complex. But by then, the police had sealed all exits. You had no choice but to return to the scene as Harold's personal doctor, arrogantly admiring your masterpiece. That night, after discovering your escape route, I understood why you were wearing shorts unfit for a doctor. It wasn't the heat, but the wet pants that would have given away your crime. After deducing this, I explored the basement and encountered you trying to find the tooth that would incriminate you, leading to you knocking me unconscious. Your fear made you abandon your plan that night, but I was certain you would return. Hearing Arthur's deduction, Dr. Chen finally bowed his head in shame. And so, dear listeners, we reach the end of our harrowing journey through the shadows of the Eastern Blossom Gardens. A tale of vengeance, cunning, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Remember, the truth often lies buried beneath layers of deceit, waiting for the persistent to uncover. I hope this story has left you with a shiver down your spine and a thrill in your heart. Until next time, keep your wits about you and never overlook the details. Good night, and may your dreams be free of the specters we've conjured here tonight.